welcome to another video on my channel Hairliciously. If you guys are new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe so that you guys are updated on hair loss and hair transplant content, as well as updates on current hair loss treatments in the pipeline. So after I posted my video yesterday on Kintor Pharmaceutical, I've been getting a lot of emails and messages stating that another huge update from Kintor Pharma was just released regarding their phase 3 clinical trial of Pyrilutamide, and that it was actually a huge failure, and that Pyrilutamide was no longer an effective drug for treating androgen alopecia. After I read some of these comments and emails, my heart just froze for a quick second, only because I'm such a huge advocate of Pyrilutamide, and given its mechanism of action as an anti-androgen, its high binding affinity to the AR, outcompeting any known anti-androgens that are currently out there, I was truly hyped that Pyrilutamide was going to be the next treatment that would eventually become commercialized. But at the same time, I did not want to jump into any conclusions, especially knowing that Kintor still had an ongoing phase 3 clinical trial in the pipeline. And this refers to their extended 52-week safety and efficacy training. So I did some extensive research. I was able to see some Reddit posts that had posted Kintor's investor relations memo on November 26th regarding their phase 3 clinical trial results. And initially the URL was a bit funky, and for a second, it kind of looked like fake news. But I later did find out that it was actually posted on Kintor's Chinese website, and that it just hasn't been uploaded to the English version website. So here's what the updated memo from Kintor stated. And before I get started, I will note that this was probably a translated version, so just keep that in mind. This announcement is made by Kintor Pharmaceutical Limited, the company together with its subsidiaries, the group, pursuant to the inside information provisions under Part 14 of the Securities and Futures Ordinance, the listing of securities on the Stock Exchange of Hong Kong Limited. The Board of Directors announces that the top-line results of phase 3 clinical trial of KX-826, topical treatment for male androgenetic alopecia, have been read out. This phase 3 clinical trial is a multi-centered, randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled study to evaluate the efficacy and safety of topical use of KX-826 twice a day at a concentration of 0.5% in the treatment of male androgenic alopecia adults in China. The main endpoint of the study is the average change in non-vellus or target area hair count compared to baseline at the end of 24 weeks. Safety endpoints include the type, incidence, and severity of adverse events. The results showed that the overall safety of the trial was good, with KX-826 demonstrating excellent safety profile and no serious adverse events were reported. After 24 weeks treatment, the total area hair count of the treatment group showed that Pyrilutamide promoted hair growth compared to baseline with statistical significance, p-value less than 0.001. Compared with placebo, however, there was total area hair count improvement at all visit points in KX-826 group with no statistical significance, but a trend in efficacy was observed. The company will continue to analyze the results of the phase 3 clinical trial in the future. The group will further conduct multiple clinical trials of KX-826 for topical treatment of AGA and acne, exploring the possibility of the commercialization of KX-826. So after this announcement was made, Kintor's stock had plummeted over 30%. And this was obviously had to do with the fact that when the study was comparing subjects who were using 0.5% Pyrilutamide twice a day to that of placebo, there was actually no statistical significance, meaning that there really was no noticeable effect on the drug when it was compared with placebo, aka people who are not given Pyrilutamide. Kintor didn't provide us with any statistical numbers or data regarding total area hair count for the treatment group versus placebo, which would have been extremely helpful so that we could at least compare that with prior phase 2 clinical trial data conducted in China and also in the US. But this was pretty shocking to hear for most people, because when we saw phase 2 clinical trial results from China involving 120 men, there was actually a statistically significant increase of like 15 hairs per centimeter squared in total area hair count after 24 weeks of treatment compared to that of the placebo group. So what phase 3 showed was completely the opposite, which honestly speaking is a bit strange. In addition, we also saw that there was nearly 23 hairs per centimeter squared in total area hair count compared to baseline. The good news is that phase 3 also stated that there was statistical significance for the total area hair count of the treatment group compared to baseline. So at the very least, this could mean that they were at the minimum able to maintain the hairs and, even regrow, some of it during the treatment. Phase 2 clinical trial results from the US study on male pattern hair loss had also achieved statistical significance with about 10 hairs per centimeter squared compared with baseline after 24 weeks of treatment, as well as an improvement in total area hair count versus placebo. The same trend was also seen in phase 2 clinical trials on female pattern hair loss with statistical significance in total area hair count by over 11 hairs per centimeter squared compared with placebo from baseline after 24 weeks. The bottom line is, what exactly happened and what can we take from this result? Well, one thing that we know for sure is that pyrilutamide appears to have a pretty good safety profile. This was already stated in phase 2 and phase 3 clinical trials, and with the ongoing 52-week phase 3 long-term safety testing on pyrilutamide, that is expected to be complete sometime mid next year. We should have confirmation on this. Phase 3 also confirmed that total area hair count increased at each visit point, but that there was no statistical significance in total area hair count improvement compared with placebo, although a trend in efficacy was observed. In my opinion, it sounds like pyrilutamide is actually working in increasing total area hair count as per the trend in efficacy over time, but that this could possibly mean that it would just need to take more time to see bigger statistically significant results. And because of this very reason that Kintor had unexpectedly seen from their phase 3 clinical trials, they likely had initiated the 52-week long safety and efficacy phase 3 clinical trial this past summer. They likely saw that efficacy wasn't great, but that it was still trending in the right direction, and that they're hoping that a longer trial period will show a clear divergence in results versus placebo. Now, this is quite similar to what we saw with Brazilia's clascoterone, as they had also designed phase 3 trials in a similar manner, because they too had experienced similar issues with the results fluctuating. So they had a 6-month phase 3 followed by another 6-month single-blinded treatment period for efficacy and safety. The good news is that Kintor still has an ongoing phase 3 clinical trial for safety and efficacy in a 52-week long period, and that the company will conduct further multiple trials to analyze the results and sort through the statistics, as well as look into the possibility or the possible confoundings during data analysis. Nowhere does it say that they plan on halting pyrilutamide studies. And they also mentioned that they will do whatever that they can to explore the possibility of commercialization. So to me, this is just going to be another roadblock that will hopefully be resolved. Push back the timeline on pyrilutamide's commercialization. I strongly believe that Kintor still believes in the efficacy of pyrilutamide and that they will be able to show that with a longer 52-week study. We know that there was a positive hair count versus baseline in the 24-week study. And the thing is that most people, who are not on any hair loss treatment will continue to lose hair. So the good thing with pyrilutamide is that it at least seems to not only maintain hairs, but also regrow some. So at the very least, it could be a maintenance drug to, prevent further progression of hair loss. Hopefully that's not going to be the case, and studies will show that it can truly regrow hair. But, even from a maintenance standpoint, without the side effects associated with 5-AR inhibitors, this will still be a huge win for the hair loss community. You can pair it up with the big 3 and introduce a new treatment that works in a different mechanism of action, fortify and further prevent progression of hair loss. So at the end of the day, not all is lost. There's still ongoing phase 3 clinical trial results that we need to analyze. And without actual tangible data and full completion of clinical trials, everything would still be speculation at this point. So my take is not to lose hope, and until we actually get more information and data, let's not jump into any conclusions at this point. I still believe that pyrilutamide is going to be a solid treatment in fighting hair loss, and hopefully over the next few months we will get some positive news. Until then, I will keep you guys posted as soon as we hear back on another update. Thanks for watching, guys. And if you guys have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below. And I will talk to you guys in my next video. Take care.